Disney brought in $176 million at the domestic box office. This is the 12th biggest opening of all time. For any other studio, compared to any other franchise, this would be a massive opening. But for Star Wars, the expectations were a little bit higher. Of the 3 Star Wars films that have been released in this trilogy, this one has the lowest opening. The prior 2 were $220 million, $250 million. So this is the lowest of those 3. It was weighed down by negative reviews, less than 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's considered a rotten score in Rotten Tomatoes. And the audience response has not been as positive as all of the other films that Disney has released from Lucasfilm, which would include Solo and Rogue One if you're fans of the franchise, since the acquiring Lucasfilm. So all of those other Lucasfilm movies have been at least an A-. This one was a B+. Both fans and critics just not as enthusiastic about this film, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens after this fairly significant opening weekend over the next week, when we'll see if fans return to see it a second time, or whether people who are maybe on the bubble maybe decide to stay home and watch The Mandalorian instead. So we'll have to see.
Did you watch it?
I did. I went to the premiere. It was really interesting. I love the franchise. I didn't love these films as much as I liked the prior 2 films in the trilogy. So I thought it was good. It was definitely, worth the trip to the movie theater, but it wasn't as spectacular. I thought The Force Awakens was really a spectacular movie, and this one was just not quite as good.
Yeah, my kids wanted to see Jumanji, and we did that instead. And I know, Kara, you didn't see it either.
Yeah. I did not. I did not go to see it, and my kids did though, and they did not like it. They had the same response to Julia. They thought it was. They talked about it incessantly though, and I got an entire download. And of course, I read all the spoilers because that's what I do. Kara Swisher does. But I think it's interesting. It is an enormous amount of money that it made, and from reading the spoilers, it looked kind of kind of thing. And so what's interesting is that The Mandalorian people are loving. And one thing I noticed with my kids, and they're a little bit older than yours, Carl, is they really like Disney Plus, and they were watching The Mandalorian, they were watching movies on Disney Plus, and even though they went to see this movie, they were nonplussed about it, but then they went right off and used a Disney product. So, I don't know if we can think of things in the same way, that it's just because it's a big movie opening, that's the big deal. The big deal might be somewhere very different, and people have more choices. And so I'm not worried for Disney in terms of that.